Landlord decided to kick out a tenant with a beautiful garden that the person had planted himself, and use the garden to increase rent. Well, get fucked, bitch. I've been renting this place for 3 years. Nothing fancy, just a basic duplex with a tiny backyard that was basically dead grass and weeds when I moved in. My landlord Janet never gave a shit about the property. The paint was peeling, the fence was falling apart, and the yard looked like a wasteland. But I love gardening, so I asked if I could fix it up. She was like, whatever, as long as you pay for it yourself. So I spent the next 2 years turning this place into something amazing. I'm talking raised garden beds, a brick pathway I laid myself, fruit trees, a whole vegetable garden, and these gorgeous flower beds that had neighbors stopping to take pictures. I spent probably $4,000 of my own money and countless weekends making this place beautiful. Every morning I'd wake up at 6 to water everything before work. I composted, researched plant combinations, even installed a little irrigation system. The tomatoes alone were worth like $300 a season. I had strawberries, herbs, peppers, you name it. The previous tenant left behind this rusty old shed that I completely renovated into a proper garden storage space. Then last month, Janet shows up unannounced with this couple. I'm out there harvesting cherry tomatoes when I hear her telling them about the amazing garden and how the rent includes access to all these beautiful outdoor spaces. I was confused as hell because my lease doesn't mention anything about shared garden access. Later that day, she calls me. Apparently, some rich couple fell in love with the property and offered to pay double the rent. She's giving me 30 days to get out. When I asked about compensation for the garden, she laughed and said improvements made to the property become part of the property. Legally, she was right, but morally, she was being a complete piece of shit. The new tenants were supposed to move in right after I left. Janet was already advertising the place online using pictures of my garden, talking about the mature fruit trees and established vegetable plots. She was basically using my work to justify charging 3 times what I was paying. But here's the thing about gardens. They need constant care, and I know exactly what each plant needs to survive. My last week there, I got to work. First, I harvested every single thing that was ready. Took my tomatoes, peppers, herbs, berries, everything. Filled up my entire car with produce. Then I carefully dug up every plant that could be transplanted. The strawberry plants, the herb garden, even some of the smaller fruit trees went into pots. For the stuff I couldn't take, well, let's just say I made sure the new tenants would have a very different gardening experience. I mixed salt into the soil around the remaining plants. Not enough to kill them immediately, but enough to make sure they'd slowly die over the next few months. I also might have introduced some very aggressive weeds that I knew would take over once the good plants started failing. The irrigation system I installed, I adjusted it so it would overwater everything. Too much water kills plants just as fast as too little. I also removed all the plant stakes and supports, so when the first storm hit, half the remaining plants would probably get destroyed. Janet kept texting me asking for a walkthrough of the garden maintenance routine. I told her everything she needed to know was available online, and that I was too busy moving to help. 3 weeks after I moved out, I drove by to see how things were going. The yard looked like shit. The plants were either dead or dying. Weeds were taking over, and you could tell nobody had any idea what they were doing. The new tenants had clearly tried to water things, but without knowing what they were doing, they just made everything worse. A month later, I heard through a neighbor that the rich couple broke their lease early. Apparently, they were pissed that Janet had essentially scammed them with false advertising about the garden. They're trying to get their deposit back, and Janet's dealing with a lawsuit. Last I heard, the property is back on the market for the original rent price, but now the yard is completely trashed and would need thousands of dollars to fix. Janet keeps calling me asking if I want to move back in, probably thinking I'll fix the garden again. I sent her a text back with a picture of my new place's garden, which looks even better than the old one, and told her she can figure it out herself.